Hey everyone, Ashley here with more Godzilla NES. Oh boy, talk about the unexpected encounter from the last chapter. Well, from here on out, it's about to get even crazier. So, honestly, I'm not sure what goes on in this chapter, mainly because I don't fully remember what goes on. All I recall is that there's something that really disturbing that pops out. And that's all I can recall. So yeah, let's pretty much go. We bring you with Chapter 5, Entropy.
In the original game, the sixth world was Pluto.
Oh.
Ironically, despite being the smallest planet, Pluto was the largest and most diverse world in the
And
game.
people say it's not a planet
Entropy
anymore.
has a different layout, but
Science,
was similarly huge and
what
diverse.
you doing?
The board music was played by a violin instrument. A
The
melody that
thylacines
started
here.
out sounding mournful, and then it gets rather, I guess I would call it distorted. It made me feel depressed and unnerved.
Really?
Not something I would want to hear while trying to sleep.
Nope.
Strangely, none of the levels from the previous worlds were present here. Instead, there were
New
8
icons.
brand new icons.
Oh.
The bosses this time were Megalon, Batra, and Mecha Godzilla.
Ah.
As usual, the first thing I did was go to the quiz level.
Time to go to
another
some
interrogation
quizzes!
base. But when I got there, I noticed something different.
Huh?
Instead of the usual goofy
Oh.
Ghidorah music, it was the password theme.
Yeah, that's
The music
a sign
change
of
seems
bad.
to be intentional, because
Very bad.
after the first 2 questions at the start, the questions started to take on a darker tone.
Oh.
Do you like ice cream?
Okay, I did not expect that. And what? You don't like ice cream
Clowns?
face?
Yes.
Ugh, no, I don't
Time
like
slipping
clowns.
through your fingers? Yes.
Well, not
Do
wrong.
you have any regrets? Yes.
You could say that.
Do some people deserve to die?
Whoa! We don't need that.
Is it safe to go out at night?
Kinda. On where you live.
Find it hard to sleep at night?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie on that.
Have you ever killed anyone?
No.
No. Do you want to kill anyone?
Maybe that's something in Overlord,
Are you
yes.
actually accomplishing anything? No.
Uh-uh.
Does
I
life
say that's
have
true.
any real meaning? No.
That's a hard question.
Do you like Mothra?
Whoa! Okay.
I knew that last one was going to be a gameplay-related question, but I had no idea what the result would be. I answered honestly, because as I've said before, I never liked Mothra. Nobody liked playing as Mothra in this game, and there was a good reason for that.
Oh.
Every other time Mothra gets hit, she gets slammed back to the corner of the screen.
Ouch.
And she sucks at fighting because her attacks are so weak.
So...
The only benefit Mothra had was being able to fly over obstacles in some levels. So I answered no.
Oh,
And
here
Face
it comes.
actually replied back to me. Not only with the maniacal expression,
Ooh.
but with the text, "Too bad."
What?
I was taken back to the map screen, and I was shocked to see that Godzilla and Anguirus have disappeared from the board.
Whatever happened to
Only
them?
Mothra.
What?
Face had just fucked me over.
Huh.
Needless to say,
So apparently
I was
they're in the
pissed,
lounge now?
But there wasn't anything I could do. And I'm willing to bet that even if I had said yes, I would have been stuck with Mothra anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Face giveth, and face taketh away.
Nice wording,
I
buddy.
took a deep breath and got ready to explore. There were 2 paths I could take through the board. I decided to take the lower one. This turned out to be a good choice for reasons I'll get to momentarily.
Okay.
The first world ahead of me was a forest. So I started there.
Forest, huh? Okay.
Almost immediately, I got an eerie feeling there was something about this level that just seemed off to me.
Oh,
even more than the previous
it's just a
ones.
forest.
Perhaps it was the pitch black background. I've always been afraid of being in a forest at night. Something
What,
about
you gonna
all
run
those
into Jason
trees
Voorhees?
make me feel surrounded and vulnerable. And the fact that I was stuck as Mothra didn't help either. Playing the game's previous worlds as Godzilla gave me a feeling of bravery. Being in control of the king of the monsters, I'd be able to handle just about anything in my way.
Suppose.
But it's not like that with Mothra. No feeling of strength or security. Now I'm just a weak, easily overwhelmed bug traversing into the unknown.
Aw, poor
Back
Mothra.
to the level, the music had new instruments, sounding like woodwinds, followed by a slow rhythmic drums and chiming bells. It gave me this
What?
feeling that I was intruding into some dangerous place I really should not be.
Well, it's fitting for the
After a while, I
environment.
encountered the first enemies of the stage. Or at least, I assumed they were enemies. They were strange, long-legged deer-like creatures.
What?
Instead of attacking, they were just idly walking around. I went to approach them, and they ran away. I thought about shooting one with an I-beam to see what would happen, but it seemed wrong. These creatures were harmless, so I passed over them and continued through the level.
Good choice.
About halfway through, I encountered a group of deer-like animals, and also two new creatures. A sloth-like creature with a beak climbing on a tree, and hairy raptor-esque creatures that were preying on the deer.
Raptors.
It was very surreal watching these creatures interact.
So
I didn't feel
apparently
like I was
we're
playing a
in
video game,
Animal Planet.
but rather that I was traveling through a forest in some other dimension.
Or a
The
documentary.
creatures ignored me for the most part, although the raptors did attack me when I got too close, or if I attacked them first. I know I shot one of them to help one of the deer creatures escape. I got clawed at, but confrontation was easily avoided by flying up to the top of the screen. At first I had to choose whether I wanted to play the levels with the hourglass or the TV screen. I picked the latter. What I
Okay.
got was not at all what I was expecting.
Huh?
When
What?
I pressed the button to start a level on the TV screen, like I normally would, this screen with an
Not sure what
animation,
the TV screens mean.
there was also music in the background, which was the goofy Ghidorah music that used to be playing in the quiz levels. I was somewhat unsettled by this because it
How?
was just so strange. I also found it a bit spooky because I had a shirt that looked just like that when I was a kid. After starting the animation, you could go back to the board by pressing any button.
Okay.
After that, I had no idea what to expect for the rest of these icons. I went to try an hourglass icon next. I was somewhat relieved when an actual level came up.
Just a moment. Hey Ma, you actually, would you like to check this out? Okay. Just a moment. I'm gonna let him take over for a bit. Alright then. Let us see exactly what this is all about.
It was
Clocks.
certainly an unorthodox looking level. All brown with time measuring instruments floating in the air and gigantic grandfather
Why does it feel like it
clocks
could
in
be a
the
Doctor
background.
Who episode?
The music was the
Don't
same
you
as the
always
board
mention
score.
that? Maybe.
And very early in the level, I encountered something else I didn't expect to see. Original enemies from the game. And not just that,
Isn't that
it
quite
seemed
fitting?
to be a whole fleet of them, and the yellow tanks, which were normally immobile, could move now. I took some damage, but it was nothing I couldn't handle. But the most
Well, it is
interesting
fitting,
thing about
'cause
this
you're a
level was the
monster.
colored hourglass items. There were 3 of these. One, a blue hourglass that made time slow down and filled the level with enemies from the past. 2, a
Past,
red
present, and
hourglass
future.
that made time speed up and filled the level with enemies from the
That
future.
is an interesting game
And
mechanic.
3, a green
Though it
hourglass that
depends
set
on
time
what
to
we're
a
dealing
normal
with.
speed and filled the level with the original game enemies. I encountered the blue hourglass first. As stated, the game started to slow down and I saw the enemies from the past, which were 5 different types of
There's a
prehistoric animals.
Triceratops.
I don't know much about prehistory,
It looks like
but I believed all of these
looks to
enemies
be the
represent
first
real
bird, a
animals.
mammoth, a
The level went into
Dunkleopsis,
another segment, and I encountered the green hourglass.
Ankylochius.
And then I fought the original enemies again.
What?
It was the same
It's a
5
giant
types,
shrimp.
so I didn't take any screenshots.
It says
But
it's
in the
all
last segment, I encountered
Armaldo.
the red hourglass,
I
and the
suppose.
enemies that must have been from the future.
What?
Now, whether or not the game was showing me 8-bit renditions of creatures that will actually exist thousands of years into
Look
Earth's
more like
future,
aliens.
I have no idea.
I believe Sasha
But
9
with
would
that
actually
thought
be
in mind,
interested in
I
that.
found this particular segment to be very eerie, and it was made more tense because everything moved faster. One of the future enemies bore a striking resemblance to something I saw in a book once called Truden Man.
Truden Man.
Another looked
I
like
don't
some
think I've
kind of
heard of that
organic
before.
spaceship. There was only one of the fifth type of future creature, and when it appeared, all the others ran for their lives, leaving me alone to battle it.
Looks like
It
some
could
kind of
fly, but
archangel.
its sprite didn't actually move, and its
Or
single attack was
an
firing a
archdevil.
lightning bolt from its face. Even so, it was surprisingly powerful,
Strange.
and I suppose it could be considered a mini-boss.
In sense.
After defeating it, it left a health power-up that restored the health and energy I had
Well,
lost fighting it, which was convenient.
I guess you
It
could
seemed I would
say
need all
it's
the help
time
I
to
could
move
get
on.
to beat this world with Mothra alone. After that previous stage I call Time Warp, the next stage appeared to be a toxic waste dump.
Oh,
As you can see,
is
the
this
place
what
looks
Eggman would
grungy
install?
and
I
inhospitable.
feel as though that would be
The
the
music
case.
was a short looping of an ambient synthesizer song. Listening to it makes me feel like I have sniffed some toxic fumes myself.
Why do I feel like
and
Hedora
it was
would have been
messing
here?
with my head the whole time. I even felt like I was choking while playing this level. The enemies all seem to be mutated to some degree.
Very
In the above
disturbing.
screenshot, you can see green mummies with bird skulls that jump out of the waste to spit projectiles. There's also a brownish cow skeleton monster with spider legs.
They should. Why do I feel like those things would have been
Halfway
in
through
Egypt?
the level, I even saw one of the deer from the forest. It was alone. And when I saw it, it was drinking toxic
Ma,
waste
you okay?
out of a barrel with an
I-
anteater like tongue. I was moving over to try and make it stop.
I'm okay.
But then this
Just
flock of
nearly lost my
skullbirds
stomach.
came out of nowhere and started attacking. The deer was scared by this and ended up running off the ground into the toxic waste. I felt
Poor
bad
thing.
for it. One of the birds bit me, but I regained health quickly from killing all of them. They were rather weak.
Just. Poor
I pressed
thing.
onward. Of all the levels in Entropy, this was probably the most, quote, normal, in
Yes,
that there
it
was
would be
little deviance
normal.
from the move forward, smash things formula in the original game.
At least
I
it had
encountered
that.
more creatures through the level, like tentacle blobs and some kind of deformed thing with human teeth.
Ugh.
I
Something
didn't feel
looks
like
like from
provoking
Silent
them
Hill.
into a fight, so I kept on flying near the top of the screen.
Just.
I still had to deal with occasional flock of birds now and then. At the end of the level was a large bluish-green lake,
Huh?
and then I encountered another mini-boss.
What?
Some kind of a monster with a long neck and a whale skull.
Whale skull.
It attacks with a mouth projectile and by charging into you. It also could go underneath the water and rapidly emerge from a different place. It was harder to beat than the monster from the Time Warp, and it had a lot of health because it must have taken me 3 minutes to defeat it. It let out a really loud noise when it died, and then
That's
sank
gotta be
back
a
into
pain
the
to
ocean
deal
as I
with.
left the screen.
Ugh. I think I should
Back
get
on
out
the
of
board,
here.
I went to the nearest level icon I haven't seen yet.
Oh, okay, Ma. Well, I hope you enjoyed my little guest cameo, and I better go. My stomach just can't seem to. Sorry about that, guys. It seems that he had to get a visit to Dr. Norbert. But don't worry, he'll be okay. He just needs time to reflect upon what just happened. But let's continue, shall we?
Which was a white tree.
Hmm?
As I guessed, the level was
Oh.
a winter-themed recolor of the forest stage.
It's not even Christmas
But
yet.
unlike the regular forest,
Hmm?
I didn't feel unnerved starting this one. I think the
music's
music
nice.
had a lot to do with it. It was a gentle, calm song. It almost
Yeah.
sounded romantic.
What?
It was quite stress-relieving, and the forest itself looked much less ominous, covered in snow.
Well,
I
snow
traveled
is
through the
like
first
that. It
segment,
is pretty.
enjoying the atmosphere for 4 minutes. When suddenly I realized something. I haven't seen a single creature
Kind
since I
of.
started.
Oh yeah, that is an issue. That is
Where
a
are all
thing.
the animals?
Yeah.
Soon after, I left the screen, and the next segment started.
Huh?
In the second segment, I was still in the winter forest, but now the music was gone.
Huh?
I was starting to feel suspicious, but then I reminded myself that there were other empty levels in the game, and this was like another one of those. But then I heard something familiar. It was the 12-second looping music.
Oh, it's
Unbelievable
back!
cold starting up. I could feel my heart sink as I came across this horrible sight.
Huh?
It was a whole group of dead deer creatures,
Oh my
covered in snow.
gosh.
Judging from the blackish-blue tone of their
Uh,
skins, they must have all frozen to
okay,
death.
this also pretty
On
much
closer
reminds me
inspection,
of,
some were
well,
missing body parts.
the scene I
Now
did
I was
for
frightened,
Riel's Heart.
but I
You
still
know,
had to keep
the
going.
frozen
Before
memory
exiting the level,
forest
I was really
area.
hoping to see something
Yeah,
resembling the
reminds me of
previous forest
that.
animals in a living state. And sure enough, I did. It was a creature much like the beaked sloth, except this thing had white fur and was more like a beaked gorilla. It was
Okay.
walking very slowly when I saw it,
Well, it's still a
but I was
sloth,
happy to at
Vincent.
least see something alive. However, it didn't stay that way for long.
Uh-oh.
A pack of raptors, who must
Whoa,
have sensed that
boy!
something else was still alive, came rushing in from the right side of the screen. The beaked gorilla didn't stand a chance,
Ow!
as one of the raptors immediately lunged at it and ripped open its back legs. These winter raptors acted far differently from their temperate relatives. While the other raptors only attacked while hunting prey or when provoked, the winter raptors seemed to have all gone insane. They attacked everything in sight. One was running back and forth, clawing at nothing. Even the noises they made sound different, more high-pitched and enraged. As I left this second segment, I saw two raptors fighting to the death.
Oof.
They were both covered in injuries, and one of the raptors had been blinded in one eye. I took a screenshot, but I didn't stay to see who won the fight.
Yeah, it's best just to keep moving on.
I
Move
only had
on,
to get
nothing
through
to
one
see
more
here.
segment before I could go back to the board screen. But in this segment, I was no longer in the winter forest,
Huh?
but instead a very empty grassy
How long
plain
is this
with a
level?
bright
That's what I
gray
need to
moon in the
ask.
sky. The pleasant music
Huh?
from Winter Forest Part 1 had returned, and immediately I started to feel dread.
Huh?
This is going to sound crazy, but it's the absolute truth. The game made this level from one of my memories.
Can that actually be possible?
After a long stretch of nothing, I reached a lake, and then the moon moved down from the sky
Huh?
and began to hatch like an egg.
Really?
When it did, a curled-up humanoid figure fell into the lake as
Huh?
the moon halves quickly disintegrated. I heard a splash when it hit the water, then a moment of silence.
What is it?
Then the screen began to shake, and a new creature emerged.
What the heck is that?
And thus, I was introduced to a monster I call the Moon Beast. This was the only screenshot I took, as I was focusing all my
Whoa, what is this
concentration
music?
on winning the fight.
That definitely sounds
And
intense.
it was the most difficult fight yet. Stronger than any of the previous bosses. This creature could have been hard to take down even with Godzilla. And with Mothra, it seemed nearly impossible. I suppose I would consider myself fortunate that the beast lacked any attacks like Gigan saw, because if it had, I would never have won this.
Jeez.
I barely had 3 bars of health when I finally killed this abomination. But what happened afterward is hardly what I could call a reward.
I'm gonna put it into parts, guys. Hope you don't mind. So, yeah, I will see you in part 2 of this. See you then.